This is 2OF Entertainment.
Hi guys, and today I've got for you the Mazda MX-30. This is new for 2024. I know you're thinking MX-30, that's been out for a while, hasn't it? That's the EV offering from Mazda. Well, yes it is, but this one is slightly different because this is the REV. What does that mean? It doesn't mean it's a recreational vehicle. What it means is that this is a range extender hybrid. And in fact, there's the other big headline with this car is that it sees the return of the awesome rotary engine. The Wankel engine has come back into the Mazda range, and that's what sits under the bonnet of this thing to power the generator, to charge the batteries, to drive the car. What am I talking about? I'll tell you everything. Since this is my first review of an MX-30, I'm going to do the normal. I'll have a look at the boot, the interior, we'll have a walk around, and we also will take it for a drive.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
So here we go. This is the range topper of the Mazda MX-30 REV range. So what have I been talking about? So you can see the other one in the background as well. It's the same car. I'm actually on a press launch, a first launch media drive of the car here in North Wales. And we're actually near Conwy, I think. Conwy Castle is where we are. So the old school rotary engines, the thing about them was that they were high revving, they drank fuel, they drank oil, but this one, they've developed it. I mean, you know, Mazda has been working on rotary engines for over half a century. They first started working on them in 1961, and then they put out the Mazda Cosmo in 1967, which was, you know, a rotary engine. They've made 2 million of these engines, these unique Wankel based engines. Now this one is different because it's lighter, it's more compact, and the reason for that is because it's a single rotor unit, and it's called the 8C. It has only about 73 brake horsepower from a capacity of 830 cc. I'll put the stats and everything on the screen as well. But what it does is it works as a generator for the 17.8 kilowatt battery pack. And together, well, not together, but actually the actual power that you get out of this thing is 170 brake horsepower and 260 Newton meters of torque. That's what the electric motor will give it. On EV mode alone, you can get about 53 miles on that. But the advantage of this thing, because obviously the car was introduced as an EV, and one of the criticisms that it faced was that it had a range of about 125 miles, which to be honest, for a lot of people is plenty. In fact, the UK national average, according to the government, is 100 miles. Mazda know that their customers only do about 26 miles a day, but still, nonetheless, people have that range anxiety. So now they've given us this one. And this has a 50-litre fuel tank, and in fact, you know, used economically, you can get probably about 400 miles out of this. Now, it does have several driving modes, and it has a normal mode in which the car tries to retain about 45% of its charge, and has an EV mode which basically forces it to only use an EV until it's depleted, at which point the generator will kick back in. And then it has a charge mode which basically you set the amount of minimum charge that you want, and the generator will make sure that you have that. So if you set 80%, for example, it can be from 20 to 100%. If you set 80%, so it will try and maintain it at 80%. So what sort of performance? And also, by the way, you can charge it to 80% in about 20 minutes. And this thing, unlike some plug-in hybrids, this one uses both AC and rapid DC charging as well. So you can stick a rapid charger in it as well. And what it will do is performance that it will have, it will do about 0 to 62 miles per hour in about 9 seconds. If you put it on EV mode only, you get a top speed of about 81 miles per hour, but otherwise you can get 87 miles per hour out of this car. So the crazy thing about this car is that although this is a new Mazda MX-30, the starting price is actually identical to the previous one, well, the other one, the EV one, so 31,250. Now this car that you're looking at is a bit more higher spec, and I'll give you the spec once I get in the car, but basically, you know, you're looking at 31 to 36,000 pounds for this car. They offer them in 3 grades, so the Prime line, Exclusive line, which is the most popular one, and this one, which is the Makoto. It's the second most popular in the range. Now the unique thing about this is it actually got a 3-pin socket inside it, so you can actually charge other stuff. They call it vehicle to load charging. There was a limited edition one, but that's all sold out. That was R, and the unique thing about it was it had maroon rouge color accents, which paid homage to the very first Mazda passenger car, which was the R360. And R, by the way, meant return, so I guess that's for the Rotary engine. Now they all get this rotor badge on the front wings, so as you can see, this is a unique badge for this car, but otherwise it looks pretty much the same as the regular MX-30. At the back you will see that, obviously check out the Mazda. It's a very distinctive shape. I love the tail lights on this thing. You get the E-Sky Active REV, that's what you get on there, and at the bottom you can't really see the tailpipe, so there's no way of telling it from that. But right, so let's take a look at the practicality. We'll start with the boot. Like I said, this car has been driven, and it has been raining, so forgive, there will be footage of a cleaner car, but let's have a look at this. So what have we got? This is about 350 litres of boot space in here, which actually is about the same as the regular MX-30. 60-40 split folding seats. If you fold them down, you're looking at 1,550 is the actual litre space that you can get. Under here, you have a compartment. Now this is a top spec, so it's got this Bose unit in here, and actually the regular one wouldn't have that. So you've got a little bit more cavity there if you want to put charging cables and stuff like that. You've got tire repair kit. Now this is very interesting because it has this is what I was talking about, the vehicle to load. It has a 3-pointed plug there. So there you can basically power it. So if you go camping or something like that, you can basically power your stuff off there, your TV or whatever it is. So you got hooks, lights, and that's pretty much it. Now let's have a look at the rear seating, which is a little bit interesting to get into. And it's not unprecedented for Mazda because they had this arrangement, because this is meant to look like a 2-door, but it's actually a full family 5-door. But they did have this arrangement before in the RX-8, if you remember. So as you can see, there's no door handle on this door. This is a door. To open this door, you have to open the front door. So this is the front door. Open that, and then around here, you have the handle. So you do that, and you can open that sort of quarter door or half door thing that we have. This is my seating position. So I've been driving this car. So I'm 6'2" with long legs, and it looks like it's going to be a little bit cramped for me, let's be honest. But having said that, look at this. So this is quite interesting. So what you have is you have a cavity just under here. So you've got a little bit of extra space there for the knees where you can push that in. And foot room is not too much of an issue. Actually got a bit of wiggle room as well there. But it is a bit upright. For me, to be honest with you, this is too tight. But we're talking about younger ones or regular size adults. If you have a regular size adult in the front here, then this would probably be okay. This seat is powered, by the way, that one isn't, and this one therefore has some buttons. So I could actually push that forward. So if I push it back to say where a normal person might drive it, suddenly I've got quite a bit more room here, both for the knees and for the feet. And I could probably go a reasonable distance like this. But for longer distances, it's not doable for me. But also, I think that for regular kids and for regular adults and for kids, I think it should be fine. But do try out for size first. You do have Isofix chassis anchor points in here. There is, I believe, a center armrest with cup holders. And the other thing to keep in mind here is that, see if I close this, it's quite enclosed back here. The roofline comes back quite a bit. I mean, I've got headroom, it's not a problem, but the roofline does come down quite a bit. It's quite enclosed. This is a very, very small window to see out of. So if you have people that are claustrophobic and stuff, then again, you want to try it out with them, make sure that they're comfortable in the car before you make that decision. So it's a good idea. Take it for a test drive, try it out, put your family in it, make sure it's okay. You do get handle, you do get door pockets, so that's quite good. But you don't get any vents or a charger back here. But there are a couple in the front, and it's time to take a look at the front. If I can get out. Oh. Here we go. Right then, so here we are in the front, and obviously I moved this seat forward, didn't I? So now it's time for me to move it back. So here we have a look at the front. Now the car is actually started. Let me turn it off. Started, non-started. It's an EV, right? So in fact, I don't even know what it is doing right now. So that's off. So now it's off. So as you can see that graphic, that went out, that's gone blank. This is now completely off. So let's turn it on. So I got foot on the brake, press that, and it will come on. You can see a graphic there if you can make that out as well. And this is a little screen here. This is not touch screen, but this can be operated from here. So you got home screen and you can do your information. So if I go into information, if you see that, that gives you, if I go into driver efficiency mode, that gives you the flow of the energy. So which direction it's going in. So this is the motor, the rotary motor, which is in the rotor shape, and you got the electric motor and you got the battery. And then when you're driving, it shows you which way the power is going and the front wheels are being powered, etc., etc. Home screen, Apple CarPlay, all that works on here. Now down here, you've got a little cavity. So you've got your chargers, and you got another 3-pin plug here. So if you want to plug in your laptop and stuff like that, you got charger, you got space down here, and it's good to have space down here because there's no space here to put like a phone. The phone can only go down there. This is really just a cup holder. There's space for 2 cup holders. This is a really nice rough material here, and this is a cubby box. And this is quite an interesting thing here. You can do that. So I suppose you could actually, if you keep that space open, you could actually use that to put your phone. So that's where the phone could go. But if you want to use a cup holder, you do that. But I suppose you could do that as well. I suppose it gives you an option. It's quite flexible, isn't it? Because you could do that and that. And then you've got space there. Isn't that cool? We've got a sunroof on this one. This one is a touchscreen, so you got all your controls. So I can operate the temperature and everything from there. The demisters are all there and all of that. The gear lever is quite interesting because it goes across. So across and down. And then when you go park, it goes across. You press the button. There's your mode button, and there's your park. This is the one that controls all of the stuff on there. And over here, you've got your information screen is that. It can also give you just the car and just the speedometer, so if you want how complex you want it. Over here it's showing the charge, so that when it's charging, the needle goes that way. When it's on power, it goes that way. Over here it's showing you how much battery percentage there is. So 44%, and that's showing you on there, and then that's actually how much fuel that you have in there as well. If I press that, and then it showed me that on my drive today so far I've used 40 miles per gallon. Over here you've got the traction control and your camera. So if I do that, you'll see that we've actually got 360 degrees camera on there as well. So sort of a bird's eye view there, as well as a full rear camera on there as well. So this stuff is really nice. It's a really interesting material there, like the one here, but different color. I don't know why they didn't color match that with that, because it's a similar sort of material. What else can I tell you about this one? So this one actually starts at £36,000. This one spec'd up. When I say spec'd up, it's really the color on this one. Sole red crystal with black side panels, and the roof is £1,800. The dark grey cloth with the brown leatherette is £200, so that takes it up to £38,000. Loads of spec, which you can just see on there. So you can either screen grab it from here, or I'll put it on the screen. I will put some of this spec on the screen. So what I can tell you is what I've already told you about the engine, the rotary engine capacity and all the rest of it. 170 horsepower, 260 Newton meters of torque, 9.1 seconds. It weighs about 1800, just over 1800 kilograms, that's including driver. So we're talking about just under 1800 kilometers. So this is the car. This is what it's all about. It's a really interesting setup. It's really something unusual and a little bit different. So there's 2 key questions, I guess, to answer here. And of course, I didn't show you the glove box. Also, I will say that the starter button is there, and the seating position is quite good here. The key question to ask with this car is twofold. A, is it better to go for this one or for the EV? And B, what is it like as a car? And the prices are, I think, pretty competitive when you consider the cars. I mean, and this one is on the high side, but like I said, they start from around £31,000. So let's take it for a drive.
Brown car guy.
So let's give this thing a drive. So it's cross and down, so that's quite interesting. It's quite a classic type of gear shifter there. And the sun has come out. I've actually, to be honest, I have been driving this for a while.
Prepare to turn sharp left after 0.4 miles.
And whilst I've been driving, am I going from here or from there? Looks like I'm going from there. So I am obviously on a car launch, and we're in Wales, and they give us a route. So I'm following the route. The route is programmed into the navigation system there. And so you'll hear that from time to time, so don't worry about it. But earlier, there was pretty dense fog mostly around, and we're coming up to well, we're just past 11 o'clock now in the morning, and looks like most of it is burned off. So I think it was nicer to hold off. And it started off obviously with a full charge. That went pretty quickly. Instead of, I mean, it was showing me it was about half of what is given as a thing. Obviously, we were straight out onto motorways and stuff like that. We were in the city, and then we came out of the city. We're straight out onto motorways and things like that. I had all the heating and the climate control, everything on, because why not? And so that must use some of it. But what happens is that you don't notice it, because the way this works, or this system works, it's very unobtrusive. And you know, I mean, this thing about it having the rotary engine, and you think, oh, okay, listen. So this is in normal mode now. So in order for it to have done that acceleration run just there, just to come out of that junction and onto this road, that would have used the engine, but you didn't hear it. I mean, you can actually hear it. When you're at slow speed and in town, and when it comes on, then you can actually hear. You can hear this hum, and it's like a constant hum. But it's not very obtrusive, and you have to really listen. If you've got the radio on and stuff, you won't notice it. So and the changeover is very imperceptible. I mean, obviously there isn't a changeover as such, really, because the drive is still the same drive. It's the motor that's driving the car, not the engine. The engine is like a generator, and it's doing two things: A, it's charging the battery, and B, you know, it's giving it a little bit of extra oomph, a little bit extra energy when it needs it. I've got some displays on here, and it's dropped to like, so now it's dropping. The EV charge has dropped to 38%, and so at this point it should be, if I go back again into this flow meter thing that it shows me on here, there's a diagram on here that shows you the energy flow, and that now is showing, oh, actually it's the battery still doing it. The battery is still doing, am I in EV mode? Maybe I'm on EV mode. Yeah, I'm in EV mode, that's why. So in EV mode, obviously it's going to run it until it depletes it. Now I'll put it back into normal, and yeah, the engine's come on. In any case, the engine would have been on even there, even in EV mode, because when it's under hard acceleration, it will use the engine. So, but you can make it out now. There's a kind of a hum there. You probably won't be able to hear it on there, but there is a kind of hum. So, anyway, how is it to drive? Aside from that, the performance is pretty good. I mean, you know, on paper, it doesn't sound like it's the quickest car in the world, but in reality, as you saw, it feels plenty quick enough. It doesn't really, you know, I wouldn't say that there's any kind of issue with performance, certainly usable performance. The ride has been fantastic on this car. It's very refined, it's very quiet, it's very well damped, you know, and on these roads and these surfaces, it's actually been really good. I haven't got any reason to complain whatsoever. Even in terms of road noise, very little. I mean, again, in an EV, you'd probably get a little bit more road noise than normal, but I can't say that I've detected anything out of the ordinary, really. In terms of the steering, you know, we've had, I mean, we'll wait till we get a chance to find some nice roads and we check it around a little bit, but honestly, the weighting is good. The weighting is slightly, it's kind of, it keeps it in the center, quite weighty. When you come off the center, it lightens a little bit, but it's fairly consistent. It's not too bad. But obviously we're not talking feel here, but we're talking like, you know, good reaction, good response, you know, reasonably assured. Pushes through some corners and you jump back onto the throttle and turn it into the corner, and you can do it earlier than you expect, and it goes really well out the corner. So it does a fairly good job in that sense. So let's go full acceleration again. A little bit scrabbling there at the front wheels, front wheel drive. But you can hear the hum, but you can't really. Looking down here, so I've done in the first segment, which I've done, I think it was about 65 miles or something like that. 60 or something miles. I did about 44 miles per gallon. So that was the actual fuel consumption. So if you think of it in that sense, it's not that far off what would be par. But I guess, you know, the way, if you're talking about efficiency with a car like this, then what you really want to be doing is you're looking at trying to use it in town off the EV mode. That's where you'll get the maximum efficiency, particularly if you're plugging it into charge, which is what you should be doing. If you're plugging it into charge, you're leaving home with a full charge, stick it into EV mode around town, and it'll pretty much use EV mode until it's depleted, before then it resorts to using the generator engine. And in that sense, I imagine your fuel economy would go up massively. But we're obviously out here in Wales, and we're out on some really nice B roads and stuff like that, and so we are pushing it, you know. And of course, if you're going to push it, then you know you're going to use up, again with the EVs. That's the one thing that they don't like, is like pushing them hard on open roads, and they will run through that juice really, really quickly. EVs actually prefer stop-start traffic, being stuck in town. That's what they actually prefer. Or, you know, being out on the motorway, or you know, being thrashed on B roads is not really, you know, their preferred choice. Put it that way. So you run through that battery pretty quickly if you do this. But having said that, with a normal EV, you'd be getting worried about now about, well, you know, with the EV version of this, they talk about 125 miles or so, and 65 miles. That would have been half of that range. But doing it in this sort of fashion, right now I'd probably be wondering about where am I going to get it charged. So you'd be looking up, you know, your maps and stuff to see where are the charging points. But in this thing, that's the advantage. It's showing me a range on there, which is now, even with the fuel that we've used, which is still well under a quarter tank. I'd say it's half of a quarter tank actually. And it's showing a range of 200 miles still. So 200 miles, I don't have to worry about charging it or anything like that. And obviously you wouldn't in this car. You would just basically wait till you got home and then you just plug it in, because you don't have to be charging it when you're out and about, you know, and paying, you know, more than the usual rate for public chargers. This is a really nice road now. So again, this is one of the things that Mazda does so well. Oh, and also I should mention the regen. So you got the regen here. So you've got the regen. So again, you can right paddle releases it a little bit if you like, or you know, reduces the amount of regen braking, and then the left pedal increases the regen braking. So if I keep the regen braking on maximum, obviously then it's helping to charge the battery, but also it's helping with the braking, and then I have to use less braking when I'm on a road like this with some nice corners. And as I was saying, going back to Mazda, what they do so well, this car, I mean, you know, I think it's about 1700 kilograms if I remember correctly, and it's you know, the center of gravity is lower. The engine is not that heavy in overall terms, because obviously you take away some of the battery pack, add the engine. Overall, you add about 150 kilograms to this compared to the regular EV. But you know, you have the added benefit of not worrying about range. But it's, you know, it's 15 kilograms lighter, this engine, than the previous Rotary engine. So it's a light engine, lightweight, and that's, you know, that's the thing about it. But because of that battery, because of the way that this is, the way that the car is structured, center of gravity is pretty low. And although we're in a crossover SUV and we're kind of sitting high up, but actually it's fairly planted because of course the weight is down there. There is a little bit of movement. There is a little bit of movement because, you know, the suspension is quite, and there's no like sports mode, not that I can find anyway. So there's only the charge modes, you know, the EV mode, the normal, and the charge modes, but it doesn't have like a sport mode. So, but you know, inherently, you know, it's fun, you know. So, you know, they've set it up because, as Mazda always do, they've set it up, you know, to have that amount of fun in it. And I think this is where Mazda always score really well, is that there's something about their cars that, you know, they like to make sure that they've got that element of engagement in the cars. And I think this is true of this one. Couple of points about visibility. I had that up because the sun came out. A couple of points about visibility. So because of this door, so I'm one of those people, I like to look over my shoulder, you know, when I'm changing lanes. And of course you don't see much of it because there's a very thick B pillar here that then pretty much goes into that door. So, and then there's just a really small window back there. So really I end up sort of leaning back and forward to kind of see what's going on there. So if you're used to doing that, then you just need to be aware that it's not as conducive to over the shoulder view as you might expect. And again, same on that side, when you're looking over there, I mean, you know, there's not that much that you see, although you have the extra window just behind the door as well, so that's quite handy. Rear visibility is not too bad, and the mirror is quite good, especially when you have this mirror that's almost like rimless. Oh wow, these are nice roads, but undulating, you know, and you've got, so, you know, there's a little dip in the corner, car is perfectly composed, no issue. This is a nice way to find out, you know, dynamically what these cars are capable of. And again, it's just conducting itself really, really well, which is about what you'd expect from a product from Mazda, isn't it? So the braking, again, you know, there's initially, it takes a while for the bite to come in, but it's not too bad. There's a little bit of sensation through the pedal. Again, you know, I often wonder, I've seen that with EVs, and I wonder if that's to do with the regen or whatever. There isn't that rigidity in this car though, maybe because it's less of a, because often I say about EVs is that because the floor is pretty much a battery pack, they feel quite rigid and stiff, but this one is flowing very nicely. Back to the brakes, I mean, you know, again, good, strong, and drama-free, I would say. You know, holds the car up quite nicely, not really an issue. Placing the car has also not been an issue. I mean, you know, it's not a big car, but it's not a small car, and some of the roads that we've done have been quite small, but it hasn't really been a problem. You can thread this car quite well, and also like you've got pretty good, you know, you can see the extremities of the car from the driver's seat. You can see the bonnet because it's fairly, like, it's not slanting down, it's sort of fairly flat, and so you can see where it is. So it's not too bad. So as I mentioned, I have been driving this for a while now, and so it's coming up to about 2 hours, just over 2 hours actually, behind the wheel of this thing. And one of the things about cars like this is when you get to drive for a longer time, you see what the comfort is like and what it's like, you know, being in the seat and stuff like that. And I'm going to say that actually it's been really good. The seat has been really comfortable. The seating position is very good. I was able to adjust it very quickly once I got in the car. The steering wheel obviously is also reach and rake adjustable, and set it once and that was it, and it was just fine after that. And throughout the time it's been very comfortable, good on the back, good supportive, you know, and also supportive, not too much, not like, it's not like, you know, holding you tight, or it's not bucket seat or anything like that, but you know, but it's still like it's giving you good support where you need it, and overall quite comfortable. Okay, let's give it some, let's go for it. Bit of scrabbling at the front again, so a nice little bit of road here, so let's push it a little bit. So as you can hear the engine kind of, you know, just chiming in there to help out the motor a little bit to get us going. So you can, when you're pressing hard, it's like when you can actually start to hear it and start to see, you know, start to feel what it, well, not really feel actually, like I said, it is actually imperceptible. Could do a little bit more weighting, just as the cornering on the steering. So again, this is quite a challenging bit. It's a twisty, curvy, tight, sort of downhill bit. And again, you know, you got this car, you know, we're doing, yeah, if you think about it, it's a family car, right? So it's not really something that you're supposed to be chucking around corners and stuff, but it wants to do it. It seems fine, you know, it doesn't have an issue with it at all. It's like, yeah, absolutely, no problem, let's do this. Acceleration out the corner is really good. You know, the way the torque sort of comes in again, I think it's getting that input from the motor, the way the motor sort of instantly delivers that torque to you. It's not, I mean, we're not talking the way you get torque out of some EVs, but for this sort of vehicle, it's more than adequate, you know. But the response from the throttle is so good. You know, this is beautiful around here now. You won't be able to make out in the cameras, but it's just absolutely stunning. I think we're heading towards Snowdonia now, but it's just absolutely gorgeous, and the sun's come out, although there's still a few fog patches around, but it's very, very nice now. Now, one of the things I noticed, that I tried to put it up into charge. Now, it has been set to 80, so it's requirement of 80% charge. So at that point, when you're driving slowly, you can hear it. So actually, if I put it back into normal, and I'll be quiet for a moment. So let me just get it on a straight bit, on a flat bit. All right, so it's in normal, and now I'll put it in charge. So literally like, you know, a generator starts up, but it's very, very, you know, you have to listen hard. You can hear it from outside though. I did notice that. You can hear it from outside. When it suddenly comes on, you're like, whoa, what's that? And it's like a very heavy duty fan coming on in a regular car. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. But yeah, definitely it's there. What it's trying to do now is it's trying to charge up to 80%. So it'll just stay on. The motor will just stay on now. And the engine will just continue to run until it gets up to 80. It's on 47% now. But I'm not going to force it to do that. I'll put it back into normal. You can still hear it running because we were just going uphill there, so it's under load. So having driven it a bit harder on some nicer roads and having played around with that charging and what have you, I've dropped the miles per gallon now to 40.8. So from 44 down to 40.8. I mean, it's still, you know, better than a typical car of this type, but you know, we're getting on par now with a normal petrol car. So it's interesting. But overall, the main thing about it is that obviously it is a bit more economical. You are putting out less emissions, and I've still got 200 miles of driving range according to what it's showing. Beautiful, nice stretches of road here, really, really good, as I was saying. So overall, trying not to let the scenery, influence my opinion of the car. But what do I think of the car? I think it's great, but I think, the main thing about this car, considering also that it comes in at the same price point as the regular, as the all-electric one, then for a lot of people that are thinking of getting into an electrified Mazda, or who really like the look and the style and those rear doors and what have you of the MX-30, for a lot of people this is a no-brainer. It's like, just go for this one. It's the same price, and it's just that much more convenient, and considerably more convenient, when you consider all the extra mileage range that you're getting on it. And in that sense, it will make it even easier for you to live with, even if you've already installed a smart charger at home, because actually that's ideal, because then you can just plug it in at home, and you won't have to use public chargers or anything like that. So honestly, like, comparing the two directly, especially when they're on the same price point, you would say that it's absolutely inevitable that you go, okay, well, just get this one. But how is it in general compared to everything else? And even there, you're like, yeah, this is really good. It makes a lot of sense. And it's as a vehicle, it's a good size. It's the sort of vehicle that, it's good for these longer distance runs and what have you, but it's just the right size for around town. And it gives you the vantage point and seating position of an SUV, of a crossover type vehicle. But at the same time, it's reasonably planted and sporty to give you the sense of driving something that's a bit more interesting. And I guess that's kind of what we're looking for at the moment, isn't it? So what do I think of it? Thumbs up. And even on the price point, I mean, okay, this particular spec is a bit more pricier, but 30 grand, because even for the EV at 30 grand, it's not bad. It's certainly not the cheapest EV around, but it's certainly not bad in terms of the kind of options that you get when it comes to EVs, price points of 30 and below. So overall, thumbs up. Let me know what you think of the Mazda MX-30 R EV, and I'll catch you all in the next video.